What's going on? It's Mustafa Ali. It's loud as hell in here, but you should be listening to Card Subject to Change.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
Well, sometimes love feels just right. It feels so real. It feels just like a power driver. Yeah, a power driver. That's what I'm talking about.
And then
You're
that's
right.
when I found ECW, and
Yeah.
RVD changed my life. I actually saw a clip of the Van Terminator, and I remember the hype going into, I think it was like 2000. I remember the hype going into a heat wave that RVD created this new move, and it did not disappoint. It was amazing. And the Van Terminator alone was the reason why I actually pursued professional wrestling.
Just, it blows my mind. And I'm like tugging on my mom's pants and stuff. And I'm like, Mom. And she's like, yeah, what? And I go, I want to do that. And I'm like pointing at the TV. Well, she looks and she goes, oh, you want to be like Macho Man and wear the cool sunglasses and say, oh, yeah, and do the elbow drop? And I go, no, I want to be the guy throwing snakes at people.
Yeah.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and Never Wrong Nick Bull.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan, for the fan. Of course, we are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. I am your host, Never Wrong Nick Bull. Thank you so much for joining us. I know it's been a busy, great weekend of wrestling and cannot wait to break it down for you. We got a doozy of a show here for you today. Before we meet our guests, I got to bring on my tag team partner here. He is the co-champ with me of the For Frequency's Sake Network. We don't know if he's officially licensed as a wizard, but we'll just go with it. He is the Wizard, CZ. Wiz, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm a little tired, but that's to be expected when you got a busy wrestle weekend anytime, you know?
A busy show.
How are you feeling, Nick?
I'm feeling great. It was a busy weekend full of wrestling. I want to say real quick, a big shout out and thanks to Stryker for getting us our newest tag. That was Mustafa Ali off the top of the show. He got that for us yesterday at the Dreamwave show up in LaSalle. We're very appreciative. Dreamwave was going on. SummerSlam was going on. And of course, there was a Central Empire Wrestling show going on that not only you went to, but both of our guests were a part of as well, CZ.
Very much so. Good time, a great. They were debuting in a new venue, the Penn Central Mall. Just looked amazing. I love the venue. I love the way it was set up, and it was absolutely perfect for a wrestling event. I'm so excited that I don't know who I want to bring into the studio first, Nick. So I'm going to let you pick.
I think we need to bring in Jared first because we'll give him a chance to talk first, because if you've been following along on social media this week, our other guest, JT Energy's really been hyping this show, but he's been hyping it more as the roast of Jared Thumb. And I wanted to ask Jared what he thought about that before we brought in JT Energy.
Oh, I don't know exactly what to say for a roast on Jared Thumb. I mean, you guys see what happens at shows and how he is towards me, and now we're going to be live on the internet where everybody can see it. I've honestly been trying to think of some comebacks, and it's been a little rough. I'll be completely honest, trying to figure out what am I going to say back to Mr. Energy.
Are you prepared for that? Because I'm sure Mr. Energy is full of zingers and insults.
Oh, I mean, whenever.
I don't know if you remember, Jared, but it sticks in my mind as one of my favorite episodes. When we had you on back, I believe it was December or November of last year, JT was all over the comments. We were all laughing and having a riot, and I expect nothing less today. Unless something happens, and this is going to be the most somber episode of Card Subject to Change, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Let's bring him in. Our good friend, Mr. JT Energy, the feline phenom, host of our weekly segment, A Moment of Focus. Welcome back to the show, JT. How you doing?
I'm real good, and I'm ready for tonight. Obviously, Jared's real good. He's blinking a lot already. No words coming out of this man's mouth. Are you flexing? Are you already trying to show everybody?
No,
working out?
I gotta get some liquid courage just to hear what you're gonna say to me.
Yeah, that you need some extra courage. I can tell you that.
Both of you involved with last night's Central Empire Wrestling show on Oskaloosa Mall Madness. CEW trying something different. I guess I'll let you guys both talk to this. I was not at the show. CZ did go to the show. I've heard nothing but great things about it. A new venue. Mr. Thumb, I guess we'll start with you. You had a pretty big night last night at the Mall Madness event.
Oh, yeah. I opened the show against Big Bad Wallace, which it was nothing less but a fight. I've been saying all week, that match was 4 years in the making because I had my first ever matchup against Wallace when I came into Central Empire Wrestling. So it was a shot at redemption. After being cheated out of a win 4 years ago, I had a shot to put him back down to size where he belongs. And later on, I was in the Legends Rumble. I drew number 2. So I had to Iron Man the entire Rumble and go the distance. And we had, I think, 18 entrants. But Tommy Ace, the guy, came in about 3 times. He took 3 entrants and came in 3 times. So roughly 18 was the number, but Iron Man did all, ended with Damian Saint, and I gave him a stunner, and he went over the top rope. It's hunting season for that title now, though. I got a shot at that Central Empire Wrestling title anytime, any place within the next year. Haven't picked my shot yet.
But I mean, it's got to feel great knowing that you've got a shot anywhere you want, anytime for the next year. I mean, you hold the cards essentially now.
Oh yeah.
JT, let's talk about your night at Mall Madness down for Central Empire Wrestling in Oskaloosa.
Yes,
and maybe reflect on Mr. Thumb's big night as well.
Oh, I'm surprised that Jared went so short on that. I would think that after all that fighting that he would really talk about how great of a performer he is. You're probably thinking about how much time you just wasted on that free promo that you had, Jared. You really could have hyped yourself up, and you really downplayed that as a potential #1 contender for Rory Fox's CEW championship. You would think that that's the thing that you've been working so hard for, that you would really tell the fans how excited you are to potentially become CEW champion. And you're just ho-humming over here. Are you just tired from last night? Did you work too hard?
No. If you
oh, you didn't work too hard. Okay, there it is, right out of his mouth. Wow. Got it, guys. Wow. Let's go back to me. So after Jared was done with Brandon Wallace, also, Jared, did you take the gun off that safety last night? Because I saw Brandon Wallace had a big black eye that you must have given him. Let's talk more about that. How did he get that black eye?
Well, let's just say my back hurts a little extra today because I felt my body collapse on his face when he gave me the German suplex. So,
oh, okay. So you're saying that Brandon Wallace injured himself, and you are not enough of a man to injure him. Got it. All right. Next question. Jared couldn't injure. He couldn't fight his way out of a paper bag. But I'm glad that you're you're the #1 contender, right? Great job. All right, cool. So Jared, he had his match. That was real fun. He started off the show with a barn burner against Brandon Wallace. Beats a guy in all pink. He's doing his thing. He's taking the safety off the gun, wearing the camo, high-fiving the kids, holding his baby in between, false finishes. He was doing a great job. His dad was in the crowd, being real proud of his son. I saw him there. At one point, he looked away. He was just disappointed in you, but that's a lot. It happens a lot. I've seen it many a times.
Oh,
But then my match started, and everybody was so excited. They're like, "Oh, JT Energy, the longest reigning CEW champion ever." Here we go. Finally, a guy who's entertaining. Not that Jared's not entertaining, but a guy that's more entertaining. I come out, and I get to face Damian Saint. Jared's probably most. Would you say your greatest match you've ever had was against Damian Saint at Bridge City Slam last year? Is that your greatest victory?
that's honestly probably the best match I've had to date, besides you and I when we went half an hour for your title when you were Central Empire Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. You got the win over me on that because I made a mistake, but that was 2021.
Hey, I'm going to test your memory right here. What mistake did you make?
I thought I could do a frog splash, and I went splat right on the mat.
All right. High flyer Jared Thumb, not in the cards. Unfortunately, he lost his chance at a CEW championship that night. But me versus Damian Saint, someone who Jared has beaten the holy heck out of before. And this was the first time meeting between former tag team champions, the Mystery of Darkness, the team that defeated Jared Thumb and Rory Fox for their tag team championships. That night, we relished as Thumb fell off the top rope through a table when he tried to give me an attitude adjustment. But his legs and his heart and his soul just gave out, and he let everyone down. And we were the victors. But it finally culminated in this moment of us going one-on-one. And wasn't ready for the Feline Phenom. The Feline Phenom was totally different than what he had previously experienced in the past. But in the end, I really should have known one thing, that you can't trust anyone who says they want to show up to a fight, because a cheater will always cheat. And at the end of the night, he pulled my tights way too far and way too uncomfortably up my backside, and I was stuck for the 1, 2, 3. So did I lose? Absolutely. Do I think it was justice and fair? No, not at all. Do I look forward to having another match with Damian Saint? Of course I do. When? No idea. But that's for fate to decide. Not on my hands. I washed my hands clean. Later that night in the Rumble, I did get my retribution a little bit. And I probably gave, I would say, upwards of 50 stomps to the chest to Damian Saint. I would get him down, and I stomped him over and over. And when you thought I was done, I stomped him 30 more times, to the point the man couldn't even breathe anymore. So I'd say I had a little bit of fun. Now, Mr. Thumb over here, at one point in the Rumble, like he mentioned earlier, he was exhausted from all this hard work that he was putting in. And I also, at one point, was on the mat, and I turned over, and I saw Jared looking right at me. So I went ahead, and I took my finger, and I shoved it directly in his ear, and he freaked out. I had a good chuckle, and he was very disturbed.
Is it fair to call it the wet willy of doom?
It was the wet something to doom that night. And Jared was, I don't know, if anything, you know what? That probably perked him up to the potential that he came to that night and gave him that victory. I'm taking credit for your victory. If I hadn't shoved my finger in your ear and woken you up from sleeping on the mat like you were, you're welcome.
I mean,
you're welcome.
if you were so focused on stomping Saint's lungs out, I was saying, hey, let's throw him over the ropes. It could have been you and I.
This is the other thing. Jared comes into the locker room last night and he goes, hey, I mentioned out there, me and you team up and we'll throw Damian Saint over the top rope. This never happened. Jared never opened his mouth. He said he absolutely was saying to the crowd, come on, let's work together. No, Jared was sleeping on the mat most of the time, getting knocked out by one opponent after another, getting so lucky back to back to back. 18 people somehow fell over the top rope that night. Jared, I don't know how you did it. You should be called the wizard here because you're pulling out the magic tricks, okay?
Ooh. Shots fired.
Oh.
I love it. This feels like primetime wrestling, and people are shooting on each other. This feels great. We just get the front row seat to it, CZ. I mean, this has been great.
Yeah, I mean, I could just sit back and let these two go at each other all night.
Sure.
Jared, did you put your camera at that angle so you look taller tonight?
Actually, I don't have any better spot. I'm kind of in my
what's behind you?
storage.
Is that your grandma's couch?
No, it's a bed.
Yeah, all
Bed we
right.
don't need right now. We just can't get rid of it right now.
Okay, perfect. Let's talk about SummerSlam. Let's talk about
How about we
SummerSlam.
talk about SummerSlam? I know it was probably, I don't know if everybody here was able to watch it last night. I'm guessing mostly this morning after your guys' long nights, but I don't know. I've done a lot of reading on this show since it ended. I watched all the post-conference stuff. WWE hits another home run. I think this pay-per-view was nothing short of spectacular, in my opinion. I watched it live. Thoroughly enjoyed the whole show. I really can't pick apart too much. I can comment on some stuff and pick apart maybe a couple things, but I think for the most part, man, they hit a home run. What about you guys?
I was very emotionally invested into a lot of the matches and stories that I watched on the replay, which is my favorite part about any pro wrestling show, is when I can get a chance to be sucked in to why I care about the match to make the match better. Because if I come in caring about the outcome and not caring what the performers do to give me the outcome, I always find it to be a much better professional wrestling match. And for the most part last night, I felt like that's where I was. I wouldn't say I was 100% on everything, but SummerSlam to me very much delivered. And I listened to things like your guys' preview podcast and multiple other preview podcasts just to get the in-depth and insight from so many different perspectives to see where SummerSlam could go or how it could go, and everybody's little fantasy booking of what they potentially want to see, not only for the show, but what comes out of the show and could come next. And I thought SummerSlam really fulfilled a lot of people's fantasies for what they hope to see out of the show. But I also think in a lot of ways, it probably shocked a lot of people for multiple things they got that they didn't think that they would get.
Right.
Jared, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff last night that they did that I watched this morning that I was like, man, the storytelling behind every story they're telling already just really hit a home run from the opening act all the way to the closing act. Like JT said, there were some things that I was kind of like, okay, where are we going with this? Or like, where are we going with that? But like, for the most part, for the entire show, my emotions were, oh, this is really cool, or I'm actually getting angry, or I'm actually like, oh, that's very touching. Like it was a roller coaster for me the entire time watching, from the matches to the segments. I mean, I even watched when Jelly Roll chokeslammed Austin Theory, and I wasn't expecting that, which was crazy. And oh, that Austin Theory just keeps getting killed by everybody recently.
I feel the same way. I thought the top to bottom everything went really well. I was not disappointed by a single moment. I can't tell you there was one match I really wasn't looking forward to because I just wasn't invested, and that's Bayley and Nia. I just never felt the build was investing enough for me. But even they did a good job with the way that it came out. All the stories. I'm so pleased with the way everything went because it just shows that WWE is on their game right now and it's full steam ahead.
Yeah, for being what is supposed to be the second biggest show of the year, you get your second biggest show of the year. It's probably the last time that it's one night, and it's also at a stadium. They're doing a stadium here. They're not doing an arena. And I thought just everything was out of the production was out of the park. And when you can do a stadium show that's that captivating, in my opinion, and there's not a lot of song and dance in between, it was jam-packed full of great stuff. Hats off to them. And, you know, I was watching the pre-show And when they announced that Liv and Rhea would be the opening match, I was a little let down. I'm like, oh. But you also had to think, you know what? Stuff with the Judgment Days they haven't been going great. Maybe this is going to be like a 2-act part, 2-act play. And they nailed it. They nailed it with opening that match with Rhea and Liv. Loved how it started, how they felt each other out. Dom gets trickled in there, and then it's like, buckle up. Here we go. We're going on a ride. And they took us on a ride.
I did like seeing that we opened with Rhea because I can never be sad about watching WWE make Rhea into the star that she has become and she deserves to be. And hitting a stadium show with her entrance right away, regardless if she's next to Dom, I think was a great way to open the show and getting it out there. And I love when we get the big opening match announcements. I love the 8K cameras there right in their face for the challenger.
Aren't they amazing?
The challenger and champion with
like a video game.
I love it. It's such a good, important feel for those big marquee monument matches. Now, when we got into the match, I would say I was very caught off guard with Rhea coming back from injury, and we did work and see her shoulder become such a focal point of this match because that felt like it was its own separate story that was also alongside this love triangle that we have going on. So it was kind of like I was looking for Dom to play a pretty big part in this match, which he did eventually. But seeing him come out with Rhea, their interaction on the entrance, and then watching as things progressed throughout the match, I wanted to see more of Dom's facial reactions to a lot of stuff because I felt he was the key part of that. But in place of that, I was much more focused on Rhea and her shoulder and the way that things look like and her constantly trying to fight through the pain. And I don't know if anyone can relate. If you've ever dislocated your shoulder, the pain is it's such a like grotesque feeling. It makes you want to throw up when your shoulder's out of socket like that. And I did it multiple times as a kid, and having someone who would jerk your shoulder right back into place is not a fun feeling, nor can I imagine doing that as an adult and then screaming through the pain and then kicking someone in the face. But the storytelling was all there, and I was thoroughly entertained all the way up until the end.
And when Rhea popped her shoulder back into place, I just had visions. Was it the Lethal Weapon movies where Mel Gibson's shoulder would get out of place and he'd just knock it up against the wall?
Yes, yes.
That's the first thing that popped into my head when she did that, and I'm like, oh, I can't even imagine. Real quick, with the start of the opening match did introduce us to something that's a little new that they're trying. We've had a couple of comments already from Stryker and our good friend Heather Wood. What do we think of the ref cams?
I love them. I honestly like being able to see the perspective from a referee's point of view, because it just makes you feel like you're right in between the action, and it just feels like the tension of the match, depending on that story, it feels like it's ready to just burst right into the fire, and it's just going to go right. Like, I know we're going to get to it eventually, but when Drew and CM Punk, like when it was on Seth Rollins' ear and you could just see their facials right up and close, the tension's right there. The crowd was already into it. When that bell rang, hell broke loose. Like, I just love being able to be in the center of it and just feel like I'm part of the match.
I think they have a good idea, and I think they have a very good concept in place. I'm glad that they introduced it at one of the biggest shows of the year to give us those different camera angles, especially after stuff like the King of the Ring finish. I think this is a great way to implement exactly what the referee sees when the fans are crying about a finish that they weren't happy with because of the way they saw it on TV. Now you can actually see the referee's perspective and see exactly, hopefully, what his line of sight was. It did seem a little cumbersome in some of the matches. It takes me back to the old WCW ref cam where they wore the big helmets on their head and tried to do the same concept. But I think at some point down the road, I think we might flush this out to get a little bit more cleaner perspective, because we have things like Google glasses that people can wear and capture videos and cameras. And just having that on the ear, like I saw during that Seth, Drew, and Punk match, it did fall off of Seth at one point, and I can see having whatever's hooked to the back of the referee on his hip could be a slight inconvenience for him trying to move around and be in position as well. But I like that they took a big swing to see what they could give the fans with something new.
And I think it just adds to, Nick and I have talked about this multiple times. Everything has such a big fight feel and a more sports oriented feel with the different camera shots and the angles that they're doing. I think this only adds to it, and I'm anxious to see what they do and how they present it moving forward. Yeah.
Very excited for this. A lot of stuff, you can always put the positive spin on this. And I think more cameras, more sites, more footage to put into WWE documentaries and for us to look back on is never a bad thing.
Absolutely love the shots of when the ref was in the ring. And I think it really showed when Seth Rollins was in the ring. He kind of tried to give a better look just to see the sea of fans stretching forever. That's a cool thing to see. That's something we'll never see. Talking about CZ and I never being in the ring to see all the fans out there like that. That's cool. Like, you're getting to see what they do. And it's just another way to enhance the production, to enhance the broadcast. And they'll tinker with it. I think, Gabe, you said it's a bit cumbersome. I would agree with that. It looked really clunky and cumbersome on Seth Rollins. I think the refs looked a little bit better on, because they're probably not going to be moving around the way the antics of Seth Rollins did. But it's cool. It's something they're going to improve on, and it's just only going to add to the experience for us.
What did when we got to the end of this Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan match, how did you feel about the culmination of the moment that we got? I think when I initially saw the chair get introduced, Rhea throw her shoulder into the buckle, put it into place, say something that involved a word where we shouldn't be dropping on here too much, and kicking Liv right in the face, and then go into that chair. When Dom initially grabbed the chair, when she reeled it back, I feel like that was a big moment that the crowd really, really reacted for. And I think the crowd at first thought that was the Dom's turning on Rhea moment. Yep. And a lot of energy came to that moment. And then the close-up cameras that we were able to hear got to hear them communicate, no, you can't win the title this way. You have to do it, and like trying to calm her down. And then we got Liv doing what she put into oblivion for a great 2 count there. And then when I spinned around and we finally got the second oblivion, I don't feel like we got the same reaction that we got when we got the chair introduced first. And once we finally got around to the aftermath and him picking her up and finally laying on the kiss, I felt like we had these multiple storyline moments that were all taking the big fans' energy. And I wanted to see it really culminate into something that just ended with Dom giving the kiss. And that's the giant crowd reaction. But that's me looking at everything and hearing how much the fans wanted what felt like Dom to turn on Rhea so they could hate him even more. And they were so ready to do it that you heard those giant explosions of fans being like, oh my God, he's doing it. This is the turn. And then they had to like wait, because they were like, wait, maybe that's not the thing. It doesn't seem like he completely turned on her yet.
You know, now that I think about it, yeah, actually, when he took the chair away, they did explode right there. And when he was distracting the referee, I feel like everybody was so focused on what was happening in the match. Maybe not everybody, like there was probably people that were picking pieces apart of like what's happening in the ring with the Oblivion on the chair, and then they see Dom, like they're probably just assuming Dom's like, she's gonna slam her on the chair, blah, 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 like from a fan's perspective. But when the kiss happens, it's like you feel so betrayed at that moment. But there's so many people who are like, oh, I knew it, and then there's those kids who are like, why? And I'm just like,
Michael Cole and Pat McAfee did a great job and picked their spots, both calling Dom horrible things live on commentary to really solidify exactly how they felt and how the fans should realize what just happened. So both of them saying those things, I was like, they're really trying to hammer home exactly how awful Dominic turning on Rhea is.
The shot of Rhea close up after the kiss and finally realizing what had just happened, and her look really sealed the deal for me. Like, she's hurt. She just lost the match, lost her man. She's hurt. And I thought it really was the icing on the cake of them two kissing and getting that reaction was Rhea's face and the hurt on her face. I thought everybody involved did a great job. It probably could have been pulled off a little bit better maybe, but they got the reaction that they wanted. They've got people talking about it. And now the question is, when that happens, well, where's the rest of the Judgment Day stand, right? Like, Dom's made his intentions known. So how's that going to affect the rest of Judgment Day? That's kind of the first thing I thought. I'm like, wow, this thing's going to play out in 2 acts now. We've got to watch the Priest and Gunther match even more cool now to see how it boils down with Judgment Day. But I thought it was very well done. I thought they did a great job, and there was a reason it went on first, and it did not disappoint.
Absolutely. And I love that they followed up immediately with a Judgment Day segment in the back.
Yes.
So that way we could get the reaction of the people that are associated with that match, see the tensions flaring, see how it could affect things later in the show. So that way you don't have to ask yourself those questions. You can immediately go, oh, this is where the story's going. Oh, I forgot we have this world title match later. What could the implications here be? Because we have so many high emotions now.
And I love that they have so many plates spinning. It does. A lot of times you'll see plates spinning and gears turning, and it takes your attention. It takes hard to focus your attention. But in this case, with all the excuse me, with all the different plates that are spinning throughout this whole storyline between Rhea, Dom, Liv, the entirety of the Judgment Day, you're really drawn into every aspect, and you want to know what's going to happen here. How is this going to affect this over here? And when does Carlito become the leader of the Judgment Day?
Hey, that's not cool. That's not cool.
Wow.
That's not cool.
CZ, and you don't ever have to apologize. If I had to look at Jared on the screen, I'd probably be almost thrown up too. So
Whoa, hey.
on to this next match.
No,
Holy cow,
listen,
Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker. Here we go.
Yes, this I guess they wanted to wait to SummerSlam to have this match. They've had their prior match. This is the blow off. I understand why they did it this way. When you show the the former legends in attendance and you see Rick and Scott Steiner there, DDP, I believe Nash and X-Pac were there in the box, among others. You kind of get that feeling, is this the coronation of Braun? This is a guy who has, ever since coming up to the main card, he carried NXT for quite some time, was in the main storyline down there. Ever since coming to the main card, has made his impact on the card, has his spot on the show. And each week he comes out, it's kind of must-see television, in my opinion. Like, what is he going to do? What physical feat is this guy going to do? I kind of look at this as the coronation of Braun Breaker, but Sami Zayn still goes out there and puts on a hell of a match. These two are good dance partners. They really are. They feed off each other. And I loved it. I loved this match. I love the direction they went. I really love and now it's Braun Breaker's time. And in Braun Breaker losing, I think there's bigger things for Sami that we don't know about yet that are on the horizon brewing here over the next couple months. But congrats to the Freak Braun Breaker for winning the Intercontinental Championship and putting on a memorable match at SummerSlam.
It was a really good match, in my opinion, for sure. The only thing that I was very nitpicky about was it felt like it went really quick. Like, it was just that explosive, very quickness. And I see JT's like, oh, really? Really? You think so, Jared? Yeah, like, I was watching. It's like one moment, one thing happens, and the next thing happens. Like, this match just felt like it did not stop. And I was just on a high the entire time. And when it was over, it's like, oh, man, Braun Breaker got it. And then all of a sudden, I was like, wait, how fast was that match? Like, I've always liked Sami Zayn's work. And just ever since Braun Breaker has been on the scene, like, I always felt like he was going to do some big things. Not just because of who he's family with, because I feel like Braun Breaker has always set himself apart from being related to the Steiners. Like, he's not Braun Steiner, he's Braun Breaker, and made his own name relevant. And, you know, wait until SummerSlam. I feel like they definitely did it just because it would be an even bigger moment for Braun Breaker and make it seem even more important than just like out of like country in the United States. Like, you're in Cleveland, Ohio, you got all the legends that can actually be there, put them on television, and you know, his father's in the crowd, his uncle's in the crowd, Braun Breaker gets it. Oh, we just needed that extra motivation there. But yeah, the match was really good. It just felt really quick and fast for me for some reason. I
think introducing Braun Breaker in the dog pound that is Cleveland Browns Stadium, watching his entrance and hearing that roar of dog barks really kind of gave you that extra like, okay, that's I can envision this happening in bigger places on a regular basis. Now, when I heard that, I also was like, ugh, like, we have our great underdog fighter, Sami Zayn, who has triumphed over so many people. And now I also hear thousands of dogs barking at the same time when we get our challenger's entrance. So to me, this is the one match where I was like, I've seen a little bit of the story. I've watched the previous pay-per-views. I'm not sure. I didn't, Jared, that's the train you usually comment on. I know you heard that. The story here, I wasn't as sucked in on that. And I don't know. I think it's just because I got pulled so many different directions with the Intercontinental Championship over the last couple months that I didn't feel as invested into this outcome. And also, like Jared said, because of the impressive victory that Braun Breaker had and seeing how quickly it came about after the war that they went through, that was also a little bit of a shock in a good way. You know, if Braun Breaker is going to be that impressive and be a freak, show me why he's a freak. That's one of my favorite parts about Braun Breaker, is how incredibly powerful and explosive and fast and all these different things that he is that no one else is right now. You know, that if you look at his uncle, Freakzilla, show me a little bit of that Freakzilla and mix it with the dog-faced gremlin and show me why he is kind of that hybrid athlete that could really be something special. But I do love the throwback gear that he always does with the Steiner brothers and the flashy colors, because that's got action figure written all over it every time I see him wear something different. And I think that's very fun, especially for people over time that want to associate those wild, fun things with Braun Breaker. He just doesn't have to be the guy that wears the black singlet or, the just different dog related stuff. He can mix the two areas of where he comes from and what he currently is. So it was fun. I'm glad that Sami Zayn came out like a house of fire as well, especially with the different pacing that we got from the opening match, starting with Liv sliding out of the ring and then back in. Sami was just suicide dive right over the top rope right away. Let's get this thing going. Like, we had a different clash of speeds than the first two matches. I mean, I appreciated that we got something completely different in back-to-back SummerSlam opening matches.
Can I just point out the commentary team said something interesting that I didn't realize, and I did go back and check. This was Sami Zayn's first SummerSlam appearance.
Really?
Not only that, but you've got Braun Breaker. I'm pretty sure this was his first appearance at SummerSlam. I have to double check that.
Right.
But him winning his first singles title on the main roster, a lot of firsts happening here. And we'll get to it when we talk about this match, but Nia Jax, this was her first SummerSlam as well. So a lot of first time things happening on this premium live event. Caught myself before I said something bad.
I think based on what we saw tonight, when you reflect on this show, I don't know, maybe 5 years down the road, you'll probably realize how special this SummerSlam was based on what we're seeing and how things are starting and the stories that came out of this show, and probably how they're going to play out for a lot of very impactful people over the next couple of years in WWE, because that's kind of what a lot of this felt like a really good starting moment, especially on the road to next year's WrestleMania and building to that potential 2-night SummerSlam next year that we're all looking forward to.
Yeah, I agree with you there, JT. I think this will be like one of those more influential PLEs you look back on and be like, yeah, all this stuff happened here, and look at these guys now in a couple years. Like, it'll be a very pivotal moment moving forward for the WWE in this show. I mean, very memorable show, top to bottom. Definitely two matches in here, and we're talking about, the Judgment Day falling apart, Dom picking Liv, and now we've got Braun winning his first title on the main roster over Sami Zayn, who both had their first SummerSlam. So very, very important show. A lot of big things, moving parts happening on this show last night, and we're just two matches in. The third match of the night was the U.S. title match, and that was between current champion Logan Paul, who hasn't defended it very much, and Mr. L.A. Knight. Yeah. I thought this was do or die for LA Knight. If he didn't come out victorious here, I think I would have felt bad for him. Like, what more are they going to do to this guy's character to hold him back, to keep him down? But thankfully, for LA Knight's sake, for the character's sake, and for the fans' sake, he was able to go in there. You guys know this better than me. Just how good is Logan Paul? How good is he in the ring? How athletic is he with the stuff that he's doing?
I mean, for doing it for such a short time that he's been doing it, I know I can't do a springboard moonsault off the ropes and everything, but him just like taking to the craft of wrestling the way he has, it's very impressive. It's almost like it's in his blood. And just like seeing the things that he has done as a performer, whether, I'm always going to say he's a heel, because Logan Paul to me, for some reason, is always a heel. It's always, you hear Logan Paul this, Logan Paul that. He's very good at connecting with the audience, like whether he's trying to be cocky and arrogant, like try and play a good guy, he still gets a crowd reaction with anything he does. When he goes out there, even in his hometown of Cleveland, if you listen to that stadium, he doesn't care if they're booing, they're making noise. They're making noise. He knows he's doing his job right. And the fact that he's able to take to the business that he has, like, in my mind, it's very impressive for me to study that Logan Paul has done that very well and very fluently to me.
I think since we've been graced with the opportunity to see Logan Paul step onto the scene and into all these different matches, there are there's so many different types of wrestling fans and so many different types of critical wrestling fans, depending on what you want to bring to the squared circle. And I think a lot of people right away were realizing Logan Paul is a great performer and does have great timing when it comes to being Logan Paul and what he brings to every single match he's been implemented in. Now, that's only one half of what you're going to bring to the world of professional wrestling. So all the other fans were just sitting there with bated breath, ready to destroy this man on Twitter the second he stepped into a professional wrestling ring. And unfortunately, no one has ever got their opportunity to crap all over Logan Paul, because Logan Paul is also athletic enough that he can be in there with some of the greatest of all time and put the moves where they need to be in the story. So that way, every single time we see Logan Paul perform, it may not be a 5-star classic, but it sure is one of the most entertaining things on the card every single time. So we've got a great performer and a great professional wrestler. And honestly, if you look at all the people that have come before him, and then you sit here and say and see what we've got from Logan Paul so far, it is not out of the realm of possibility that within our lifetime, we are absolutely going to see Logan Paul go into the WWE Hall of Fame for what he brought to the world of WWE. And every time he goes out there and delivers. My one thing that I always wish I got more of from Logan Paul is Logan Paul is only Logan Paul. He doesn't have that extra thing yet that seems to implement him as a character that I can invest in. And that's just whenever I hear his music and see his look and watch everything happen, I'm 99% there, but I'm not fully there yet with Logan Paul. But that's how a lot of people felt with Roman Reigns for a long time when he got booed out of buildings. There was just something there that they weren't ready to accept yet. And that thing eventually will come for Logan Paul. And then he will solidify himself one more step up the rung, where we sit here and we start talking about Logan Paul being a WWE World Champion someday.
I absolutely agree with you, JT. You're right. There's something that's that's making me not go 100% in. But at the same time, if you would have told me when Roman Reigns was a face and getting booed, that he would someday be a face and be getting the hugest pop that we've heard in quite some time, I wouldn't have believed you. But it happened. We all witnessed it last night. So you're right. He is missing one thing, but every one of his matches has a memorable move or a memorable moment. Whether he's shooting himself going viral off the rope into a table, that standing springboard moonsault last night that looked like it looked effortless for him, and yet you don't see anybody else doing it like he did, and it was beautiful.
I'm essentially watching my dream opponent for Rey Fenix someday every time Logan Paul jumps into the ring. Ooh, because I watch what he does and I just think to myself, some of these other people that exist out there that possibly someday can share the ring with that man. If the story's there, we already know the potential for all the moves that can come with the performers. It's one of those things that is just kind of mind-blowing. But that's the beauty of having a great competitor, being able to train at places like the Performance Center and hone their craft and become the experts at what they are. Now, I can tell by Jared's face, he really wants us to hear his thoughts on Machine Gun Kelly, one of his favorite rappers of all time. Jared, tell us about Machine Gun Kelly and how much you really love him.
No, okay. Let's get this straight real quick. I do like some of Machine Gun Kelly, but his rap stuff is like very picky. There's only like one song I really like by Machine Gun Kelly, and it's not on like any streaming service. And he did a song with the lead singer of Sleeping with Sirens called Swing Life Away, and it's like a pop punk rock song. So like I really like pop punk, but at the same time, I just can't like Machine Gun Kelly when he tried calling out Eminem. I can't fully be with him. And as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, great. Is he going to get power bombed off the stage again?
Jared, thanks for your thoughts on Machine Gun Kelly. We really appreciate you being here today.
Hey, you're the one that said Machine Gun Kelly. You got my honest thoughts. I'm just not fully with him.
I appreciate you saying Machine Gun Kelly is not as good as M&M or Snickers or Reese's or any of your other favorite candies. I appreciate that.
It's called dad tax, okay?
Whatever that means. Got it. Thanks, bud.
I want to ask CZ. LA Knight's your guy. I mean, this is a big moment for you. I mean, you gotta be loving what happened in this match.
Oh, for sure. This was a great match. Good showing. I always admired Logan Paul for coming into the business and just going all out and showing that he I mean, you can't go into a match with world champion Roman Reigns and not prove that you're there. And he did that, and he's just continued to prove he belongs. But I'm with you, Nick. You said it right at the beginning of us talking about this match. This was do or die. If LA Knight did not win the title, where does he go from here? Where would he go? It would have been a downward spiral that I would have been very sad to see happen. So I'm glad it didn't. I'm super excited, and I'm anxious to see what he does with the U.S. Championship.
Always have faith, my friend. Even when you feel like your heroes are down to the very depths where they'll never come back. Always remember Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40 and how we never thought he would get to where he was. It's always very defeating in the world of professional wrestling when we feel like people are getting that shovel out and just going in their graves. But always have faith, because there's too many doubters out there that want to help put those shovels right in the dirt. But it is defeating sometimes. But if you just stay there for the long haul, we'll always get our heroes in the long run.
This has been a moment of focus with JT Energy.
SummerSlam edition.
Speaking of, let's take a quick time out. Let's pay some dues to our sponsors, and if you will, JT, grace us with a live moment of focus on the other side of the break. That'd be awesome.
Oh, I can't wait.
We will be right back here in just a couple minutes.
Football season may be over, but for frequency's sake, still has you covered for all your sporting needs. Tune in every Sunday when the best professional wrestling podcast around, Cards Subject to Change, gets you caught up on everything inside the ropes. They won't miss a count with weekly analysis and interviews. More into auto racing? We've got a double dose for you on the track. Tune in to Fast Money with Rod Villagomez each week and win some money with the quickest bets in all of sports. Want more insight from Pit Row? Check out the Green, White, and Checkered podcast where they give their insight on everything happening on and off the track. Need your basketball fix? Points in the Paint has you covered with live shows every other week looking at everything in the association. Backed by popular demand, we have the return of The Payoff Pitch, FFSQC's baseball show, covering you on news around the MLB. If you're missing football, don't fret. Mark and Dan still have you covered in the football lounge. Missing Joe Winkle? Probably not, but he's still here talking sports on Educated Ignorance. Football season might be over, but we've still got you covered. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
For frequency's sake is brought to you by Durham Remodeling, serving the Quad City area's remodeling and repair needs since 1973. Clint's Draft House, grab a bite and a pint. 7th Street, Moline. Lopez, New York-style pizza served up by the slice or pie, Davenport. Lifted Energy, energy drinks, coffee, donuts, and more. #GetLifted. Atomic Sports Cards and Collectibles. Sports cards and memorabilia, vintage clothing, hats, pennants, and more. Ryan Allison Tattoo. Step into the vibrant world of tattoos with Ryan Allison. And A Cut Above, offering quality custom woodwork designed specifically around our customers.
Hey everyone, we are checking out at Walmart. We've got ourselves 4 full carts. We got plenty of toys here. We're going to see what our final number is here in a couple of minutes. Well, we've got a couple of nice folks here checking us out, but hopefully we'll got plenty of stuff for everybody to get everybody a nice happy Christmas this year.
Football season is just around the corner, and once again, For Fantasy's Sake is running its annual Toys for Tots Fantasy Football Leagues. Don't miss your chance to be crowned the best fantasy football player in the Quad Cities and help raise money for Toys for Tots of the Quad Cities. The For Fantasy's Sake Toys for Tots Bowl is loaded with great prizes and even better local celebrity participants, ranging from professional athletes and news personalities, and even former Iowa Hawkeye fullback, SCW Pro and Pro Wrestling Trailblazer, Steve Manders. To sign up, just visit For Frequency's Sake on Facebook or Twitter and follow the links.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back, everybody. You're tuning in. You're tuned in to Card Subject to Change, the podcast by the fan for the fan. We are joined by the feline phenom JT Energy, by Jared Thumb. We are breaking down SummerSlam, the second biggest show of the year for the WWE. And it's come to that time in the show. This is a treat here today. We get a live version of a moment of focus. JT, take it away.
Welcome to a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy. And what are we focusing on this week? Let me tell you, we're focusing on patience. Because if you're patient enough, things will come to you with hard work. The more that you put in, the more that you'll get back. And just when you think you've put in enough to get what you deserve, you start from zero and you keep going. Because when you work for your dreams will work for you. This has been a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy.
I got chills.
Absolutely.
Live
hit it
moment
on
of focus.
Every week it seems it connects somehow with what I want to say on a future match or something I have going on. And absolutely right. He's absolutely right. I'll bring that point up when we talk about a match later. But
now,
patience.
Real quickly, with my message today, there was some inspiration behind that because myself and Jared have worked really hard for a really long time to become the accomplished. Well, one of us is an accomplished professional wrestler. The other one's trying to get there. But Jared's still working really hard. And I sent CZ a very special clip to show just how far Jared has come from some of the things that he used to do in a professional wrestling ring. If you have that clip ready, let's see if we can go to it.
Oh,
absolutely.
Jesus.
Okay, now as you can see there, that move, it really didn't look like anything that you've ever seen before. Because Jared at one point in his life, he was really inspired by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And one time he said to me, "You son of a gun, I'm going to hit you with the hardest rock bomb of your entire life." And as you can see there in that clip, Jared hit the worst rock bottom that has ever been put out into the existence of professional wrestling. I couldn't show you the rest of that clip because if I would have, you would have been appalled. I think everybody in the room got up and they left. I think one gentleman yelled out at him. He said, "You know what, Jared Thumb, you made me think professional wrestling's fake. I hate you." I'm not saying it happened, but I think it happened. And I usually have a pretty good memory. But you know what? Jared has come really far from that day. And I think he learned his lesson to never be inspired by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson again. And that's why he started saying, "Hey, everybody, I love Stone Cold Steve Austin." Because he thought, you know what? I could probably drink beers and hit stunners. That's more up my alley. And that's where we are today. Jared Thumb, the successful thumb daddy that he is, drinking beers, dropping stunners, becoming your CEW #1 contender with his instant ticket. Jared, what do you got to say about that?
Good God.
Good God, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's move on.
This guy right here should know. I wanted to do the stunner at first, but then everybody's like, "You can't do the stunner." It's because it was that time and point where everybody was doing it. It became like the super kick, and everybody kicked out of it. So I was like, okay, I'll do the rock bottom. This man knows Stone Cold Steve Austin is my favorite wrestler of all time. If you need some proof right
Allegedly.
now, I literally
Jared-
went out
Jared-
and bought the WrestleMania chair with Steve Austin on it, killing Kevin Owens.
All right,
at
I'm just
WrestleMania
making sure you didn't
38.
have a Stone Cold tattoo on your butt. You were about to show everybody.
Well,
I
we
got-
haven't
I got
gotten
real
that
worried
far
for a
yet,
second.
you understand. But no.
All right, Jared, you got a Stone Cold chair. We get it. That's apparently why he's your favorite. Okay, I got
You
it.
can go to my closet and see every Steve Austin shirt I have, but I'm not going there right now. Baby sleeping.
In your closet, Jared, do we need to call somebody?
No, the baby's sleeping in my room. My closet's right next to the room where the baby's sleeping.
Jared's flustered, guys. He can't believe that he hit that rock bottom.
Good God.
Let's move on to this next match because I don't know if we can't sit in the past. We got to look towards the future, and the future is this next match.
Before we do that, can I just help Jared focus a little bit? Jared, could you give us a good boom?
Oh, let's see. What do you want? A bit? Hang on.
Did you
know
forget
what
how
I
to
want.
boom? Did you forget how to boom?
No, I don't have my boomstick out yet. Hang on.
Here we go. He's getting some liquid courage.
Click, boom. Okay, let's go.
Dave Meltzer just gave that a 2 out of 5 stars.
That's fine with me. He never gave Kurt Angle 5 stars when he deserved it.
I think we can all agree on that.
Great, Jared.
Next match on the card is Nia Jax, your queen of the ring, getting her automatic title match at SummerSlam against the WWE Women's Champion of Bayley, who won the belt at WrestleMania from Io Sky. Of all the matches on the card, I'll flat out say this is the one that probably did not have my interest, probably the least interesting to me, but the feeling of Tiffy hanging around with that briefcase kept me intrigued, and I thought Bayley and Nia did a terrific job of storytelling out there, and even included a faux cash in that pretty much led to the win for Nia. I liked this match. It exceeded my expectations, and props to Nia for winning the title in her first SummerSlam. She looked like $1 million, I thought. Bayley looked good as well, but Nia looked real strong in this match and getting the win in the championship.
I completely agree with you. CZ, what do you guys say? You jump in here.
I thought the match was really good. What really grabbed me wasn't on the card itself, wasn't on SummerSlam. It was during the post show, which I watched this afternoon after I watched SummerSlam, and just Nia talking about how much this meant to her and how much she appreciated the faith that Triple H had in her to bring her back onto the roster really seals the deal for me on Nia. I wasn't ever her biggest fan, but I'm at the point where I can look and I can enjoy what she does, especially because of her comments on the post SummerSlam media press conference, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I know I have loved for so long watching the internet really get their jollies off reacting to Nia Jax and making sure that everybody knows exactly how they feel and what they think of her as a professional wrestler. And since she has come back and inserted herself back into WWE, she has played such a good role of just being Nia Jax and saying, I don't have to say anything about myself because the internet does everything for me. Everybody says all this stuff that everybody hears about, and I'm Nia Jax. The baggage that comes with me, right?
Yeah.
And now she shows up, and I love that she has been destroying people because every time she does it, I feel like everybody just gets more and more mad, which is exactly what needs to happen if Nia Jax is playing her role. And at the end of that match with the faux cash in, and I love that Bayley was dressed a la Macho Man. How perfect. The faux cash in happening, Tiffy taking a real thunderous bump right down to the floor. And then I love the way that Nia Jax finished this up with 2 back-to-back power bombs and then 2 annihilators. Such a good, just when she hit the second one, there was no doubt that it was the finish. And when she sat there, I can't wait to see her show up, crown on the head, championship on the shoulder, and we now have this story that's going to be put in front of us. I think we were very blessed with the Damage Control storyline, and coming out of that, Bayley was Bayley, but she had so much time to really enjoy what she got through Damage Control up until the big culmination at WrestleMania. And now coming out of SummerSlam, we have a monster that is Nia Jax, which she deserves to be, and showcases that she can beat people in quite a thunderous way. And I'm very excited to see what comes next, and eventually when exactly will it be Tiffy time and see that get cashed in.
Well, JT, it's always Tiffy time on this show.
Oh, okay, I got it.
We got all the time for Tiffy. I like what you said there about the internet hating on her, the fans hating on her, and now she's just out there being herself. I kind of liken. I want to compare Nia Jax and Logan Paul here. Like, I think people watch. Not me. I think people watch Nia, and I think people watch Logan Paul to fail. And they're doing the opposite of that. They are thriving in their current roles because they're just being themselves and doing what they're supposed to do for their character. And I think that drives haters nuts on the internet, especially with Nia Jax in her current role. Like, she's being portrayed as a monster. She's going out there and destroying people. And I think it pisses people off to see her thrive. And I'm glad. I'm glad she is out there doing her thing. There's a new dynamic with Tiffany and her being best of buds now, and that whole briefcase situation. This gives us another layer to the Nia character as well. Props to Nia Jax. I couldn't be happier for her. I'm glad they put the belt on her. And I love this return run of hers since she's been back onto the roster.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the next match on the card is probably one of the most anticipated matches on the show. The next 3 have all been highly anticipated, but first thing I want to point out, we've got Seth Rollins, we've got Drew McIntyre, we've got CM Punk, and it is very clear that all 3 of them wanted to pay homage to SummerSlam 97 with their attire. Very clear. I love the big trench coat that Drew had, the pink and black on Punk, and of course the sleeveless, bedazzled ref shirt. Not quite Shawn Michaels. Seth Rollins making it his own with the sleeveless shirt. I thought that was a very nice touch. I love that they gave that nod to 97 because this match definitely had the feel of that match as well.
Absolutely. A lot of people, I think, once they started creating the dynamic in their head of saying, oh, this is Shawn, Brett, and Taker, I think when you put that type of things into people's minds in the atmosphere, and then you let stories start to play out, you don't even have to do anything, because there will be people on the internet that will create montages for you in side-by-side comparisons, showing you all these little things to tie all the stories together for you. So that way WWE is never going to put that package together, because they don't want to tell you this is this or this is similar to this. But the internet will say, no, let me do it for you. We love pro wrestling. We'll show you exactly what you should be thinking. And they'll do all the work for the fans. So I think for a while, a lot of people started to see it unravel. And us, the people that lived through the Attitude Era and really got to see that dynamic, I think we're getting a real treat here by watching history kind of repeat itself in a way.
The one thing that I really, really thoroughly enjoyed of the match, like I'm going to say it, Punk and McIntyre was my favorite match of the entire show. Just for the fact that like CM Punk was ready to fight and ready to go. But the moment he sees that bracelet, he takes his focus off that win and wants that bracelet back. Like he's not focused on he's focused on trying to take McIntyre out, but he's also trying to make sure he gets that bracelet back, which, you know, ultimately led to his fall, and it led to him taking out Seth Rollins because he's like, are you messing with me? Because they already have problems. Like, adding Rollins to the mix just adds more tension between all three competitors because the history they all have with McIntyre beating Rollins at WrestleMania, Punk causing McIntyre the title, the Rumble. You know, this match was just made to be an all-out demolition derby of professional wrestling, and just chaos was supposed to be the entire thing, and that's exactly what I felt like it was emotionally.
I mean, you take this back to Survivor Series last year when Punk returns in Chicago, right? Who were the two most visibly upset people in the ring when CM Punk made his way out? It was Seth Rollins. It was Drew McIntyre. All three of these guys have an equal hatred, I think, for the other two parties in this situation. And you've seen that during the match. You've seen Rollins maybe slow counting Punk. You've seen Rollins with the chair, taking it out of the ring, went to hit Drew. Drew ducked and almost hitting Punk. Punk in the corner like this. I thought that was a really cool moment. You know, Punk seeing Rollins with his bracelet on after Rollins just picked it up to get it out of the way and put it on his arm. All this stuff tied in well. This feels like chapter one for all three of these guys. This is the introductory course was the SummerSlam match. And now we're going to get different iterations of this match throughout. But all three guys feed off each other so well. It doesn't matter if it's going to be Rollins, Drew, Punk lingering outside. It's still going to deliver. You know, switch pieces in and out. It's still going to deliver. This match went off better than I thought it was going to. I wasn't sure about Rollins as the ref. I'll flat out come out and say, like, I didn't know how I would feel as Rollins as the ref. Would he take away from the match? But the fact that he was just out there pretty much to count and just let those guys tear each other apart made it even better, in my opinion. And it was definitely up there. It definitely started slower, but it did pick up. The culmination was great. And now you've got a gloating Drew and a pissed off Punk that wants answers, and Rollins kind of like, you know, now I'm going to be a target of both these guys even more now. So I thought it accomplished a lot. And I think this match ages better each time you watch it, if you will. Like, I like it better watching it the second time than I did live, which is not saying it was a bad match watching it live. I just enjoyed it more the second time I watched it.
Yeah, I think we all hit the nail on the head here. This was a lot of great dynamic, and at the end of the day, you know, Heather says it best. Punk still walked away without having that bracelet. Drew on the post show said he's done, it's over, but obviously this is far from over. We're in chapter one of what's going to be a long story, and I'm all in for the ride.
This match, it did one of the best things. It showcases and plays on human emotions to a very real extent with a lot of us. And I think one of the biggest things that, male or female, that a lot of people can relate with is the blind rage that can overtake you when you see something or you feel like something of yours, especially family, is being threatened by another individual. And in the world of WWE, when someone threatens something like that, you do fight one another, and it does happen. And a lot of us sit on bated breath because we live vicariously through these people, and we can imagine if anyone threatened our families or did something to get so down and dirty in our personal relationships that when that stuff does happen, and Seth Rollins is always an integral part of all of these stories that play on such high human emotions, whether it was being the thing that made Roman seek such deep hatred and revenge at WrestleMania, or watching Punk be blinded with rage just by him wearing a bracelet at SummerSlam. All these stories that are tied to such deep human emotions that we relate with, it all comes back to the architect, the guy that put me and Jared through hell to be here with you today. That's kind of where we're at, and I think we can all be rest assured that we're very happy with what happened, because we know with pay-per-views or premium live events like WWE Bad Blood coming up, we can only imagine what we're going to get there.
I know what I'm hoping for.
I know what you're going to say. And it'd be unique because we've never seen it before, right? CZ, go ahead.
I would love to see a triple threat Hell in a Cell. I'm just going to throw it out there.
I think the seeds are planted. I think they could go that way. And why not those three?
So you're telling me if we look back at 97 and we see Shawn and Taker come out of SummerSlam and have one of the most iconic Hell in a Cell matches, that if something happens this year and we have such smart professional wrestlers tying back to what we saw then, this year, who's going to be Kane?
That's a good question.
Ooh, yeah, that's a very
good question.
Good
question.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
That's a great question. That's a great question.
Jared Thumb, fantasy book that on the spot right now.
Fantasy book the freaking, if that happens, well.
Yep. Who would come out at the end of the match?
Well, this is how I see it happening. I see all these individuals are down in the ring, and the lights go down. All of a sudden, you see a cat on the Titantron. And then all of a sudden, you just hear just a hiss. And then everybody's like, by God, it's got to be JT Energy. That's JT Energy. Oh, my God.
Jared Thumb.
He's coming out. And all of a sudden, he gets on the mic real quick. And he says, we are the Tigers. The mighty, mighty Tigers. And we're great.
Asking you shall receive, JT.
Okay, Jared. All righty. I'm gonna remember that one.
That's a great question. I don't know who's Kane. I don't know who's Kane, but I can't wait to see who it is if they do it all, if they play it that way. But that was some on the fly fantasy booking there from Jared Thumb. You're not going to get that anywhere else but Card Subject to Change.
I had to do something, I couldn't
be
serious the entire
time. Put you on the spot, man.
Oh, yeah. We know you had to do something. We lived through that something. Every single one of us.
Nick brings up a good point here. We haven't said this in a while. You're watching Card Subject to Change, the podcast by the fan for the fan, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. Sorry, gentlemen, just had to get that out there. We have said it only once through this episode, and I think our sponsors would shake their fists at us or possibly put us through a table.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to go through a table.
No, and we appreciate Low Pies Pizza and Durham Remodeling and Ryan Allison Tattoo and Jared Zook. You can protect all of us anytime, baby. Country Financial for the win.
Oh, man. So I think the next match on the card is the one that I was personally looking forward to the most. Cody and Solo aside, I think the match between Priest and Gunther, because you knew there was going to be something played out there. I wanted to see the coronation of Gunther. That was the one thing I was looking forward to the most. and I wanted to see how they were going to do it, and it didn't disappoint. And I feel like beside the one moment where Finn Balor interfered for just a second, I feel like Gunther went over pretty clean here and solidified himself as the World Heavyweight Champion, and as it should be. What do you guys think?
I would absolutely agree with that. Like, the one detail I think I saw pointed out going into that match, when Finn interfered, Damian Priest had no idea until he watched the replay. You don't see that much in WWE where they watch the replay and see somebody do that. You always see them catch it happening, and when he watches the replay, he instantly loses his focus on the match, and he's watching Finn. But if you go back to the segment right after Rhea and Liv, he literally is getting hostile with Finn, which gives him a reason even more to just, Damian Priest is accusing me of this stuff. Why am I helping him? So it's justified almost for Finn Balor to turn on Damian Priest to help him, help Gunther win the title over Priest, to be like, you never should have laid your hands on me, and you should never have relied on everybody. I say Finn's gonna say Damian Priest turned his back on the Judgment Day, and Gunther getting the World Heavyweight title. We've seen what he's done as the UK champion and as the Intercontinental champion. What is he going to do with this championship? It just gives you that anticipation of, even like, out of this match, you got so many stories you can tell, not just from Gunther with his championship reign, but with Priest and Finn. Like, are we going to see the Demon back, or are we going to see a different side of Damian Priest? Like, it can go all over the places with this exact story of each individual in this match. And personally, I don't know where we're going to go with it besides Priest and Finn are going to meet eventually. But Gunther, it's his time, man. It's his time.
If there's one thing that Gunther does well, that is domination. That is winning a championship, holding a championship, and solidifying that championship is something that is prestigious. And we have always been blessed with this man winning a championship and wondering who in the world is going to raise themselves to the level where they can challenge him and defeat him. And the thing that I've seen so far is that no matter what he does or what he wins, when he does eventually lose, the next day when he wakes up and we wake up, it's almost like it didn't happen. It's almost like it doesn't even matter, because we're like, we know how dominant this man was. He did lose, but what's he going to win next? I'm not even thinking how he lost it, where he lost it. Is he going to get it back? I just think, I feel so bad for the next person that has to face this guy, because they're going to get demolished. And with WWE showing that, guess what? We're going to the Bash in Berlin. All I can think right now is who is going to step into the ring with this man on his home turf, because these fans are going to be rabid for the ring general and seeing what could come of this. So I love watching him work, because it's a fight every time. And whether you're emotionally invested into it or not, you become invested into it when you watch them start to beat the holy heck out of each other each and every time, because you instantly get sucked into these men's shoes going, oh my God, I can't imagine the pain that you were living through on a nightly basis doing what you do. But Priest did step up, did bring the fight to Gunther. And I mean, the 24/7 special that they're putting out on Damian Priest alone, he's already a star, but that next step is already being written for him, for us to be even more invested into Damian Priest because of what he's earned and solidified over these last couple of years. It only shows how much more faith that we have in him for what's going to come for the future.
I'm going to be biased here. Gunther is my favorite wrestler to watch right now. He has been since he was Walter. I got drawn into him because he was a slightly chubby guy that was beating the crap out of everybody, and I just thought that was cool. His matches have always – I've gone out of my way to watch his matches. And so when you said earlier, JT, during your moment of energy about being patient, you know, when he lost at Mania, I'm like, there's bigger things. There's bigger things on the horizon for him. And this reign had to end because there's bigger things. And this is the bigger thing. I'm happy they pulled the trigger and put it on him. I think if there's a guy that they've pushed in recent years, if you want to go back and look in recent memory, that deserves it the most, it may be this guy because he cares about the business. He takes it seriously. He's believable in there. He just destroys people. I love his move set. He doesn't do anything move-wise that he shouldn't do. Like, everything he does is like, yeah, I can see him. That's why he does that. Like, it fits him perfect. So I cannot wait to see what this means for him. This championship road now that he's on to defend. Bash at Berlin's going to be crazy. I popped when Gunther won last night. I was happy. It's always cool to see your favorite wrestlers win a title, in my opinion. Still is after all these years, and absolutely loved it.
Gunther is the definition of being able to take imagine if you take a professional wrestler who goes through professional wrestling training and learns the basics, and then he implements the basics to the absolute best of their ability and destroys people with nothing but splashes, chops, kicks, and power bombs. And that's it. He does the most basic of things in the most hurtful, painful way to his opponents. And I think that's why we never have to overthink the pain that he's putting people through, because he does it in such a simplistic, dominating manner that we don't have to overthink the wildness that Gunther could be doing. He just slaps on a Boston Crab and bends somebody in half, and you go, that looks horrifically painful. Well, I don't know why I wouldn't not believe what he's doing to these guys. So I do also think with since the implementation of this new World Heavyweight Championship, our own personification of the big gold belt, and we've now had 3 champions: Seth Rollins, Damian Priest, and Gunther. I can
Andrew McIntyre.
Oh, Andrew McIntyre. Oh, poor Drew. I can see this title, if I look back on different generations of title belts being associated with people, I think this one really is going to be solidified with a picture perfect Gunther is the World Heavyweight Championship when it comes down to it. He did a great job with the UK title and the Intercontinental title, but something about the look of this and the look that he presents himself, I really think that they're going to mesh together well for quite a while.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I also want to think, I think Damian Priest is going to be a bigger star after this Judgment Day battle than he is right now. I mean, he's big right now. That documentary looks awesome. I can't wait to watch it. I'm really looking forward to it. Like, they do such a great job of those documentaries, but he's going to be a bigger star getting his revenge and avenging this loss, taking out Finn Balor and everybody else that gets in his way. So that's going to be very interesting to watch. But this was my match of the night. I love these guys. They laid it in. They laid it in hard. They beat the crap out of each other. It was believable. And we see Gunther bleed. Damian getting Gunther to bleed, I think, adds to this. This was just chef's kiss for me. I love this match. Love everything about it. Furthers the Judgment Day storyline, and then you get a new champion with Gunther. So I was very happy after this match.
I think our own little quadrant here of people, we're kind of like our own little Judgment Day. And I would say Jared is like the least funny version of what R-Truth used to be. But he's still a part of the group. Thanks, Jared. We appreciate you being here. Just stand in the back.
No, I got told something before this podcast. I was on the phone with my parents, and they say, you're kind of a bad influence to me. You always roast to me when I'm always so nice to you. I don't know what's going on here, bud.
Who,
Why?
me?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never. What allegations that Jared Thumb comes on spitting on here? You gonna go to Twitter after this and start putting out false news? Unbelievable. Get out of here. Why don't you go throw somebody off a roof through a car window again?
So JT, just for the sake of you bring it up.
Mentioned about that for however long, and then it came full circle. And,
Would you stop interrupting Nick? He is trying to get this show back on the road.
If Jared Dunn is our truth, who are the rest of us?
Well, Nick, you're pretty tall, so I'm gonna say you're Damien. Wizard, Demon. He's definitely Finn Balor.
I'll take it.
I do feel pretty sexy sometimes, so I think I'm Rhea Ripley. Personally, and I actually, I am gonna go with that. And Jared, you could pretty much play any of the other people, because we're gonna talk about the three of us for a while, and we'll think about you later. But this is the real trio, baby. This is my brutality.
This is my brutality.
Any of the other three. What if I'm Dominic Mysterio, bud?
You're dirty. You're dirty. Don't get me wrong, but it's a different kind of dirty than Dom.
Wow.
old dirty thumb over here.
I want to say one more thing about this match before we go to the main event. I thought this match was put in that spot before the main event. It's maybe kind of hard to get a reaction out of the crowd, but these guys nailed it. They really were putting it in. It's because of the stacking of the card. There's so many good matches on the show. To put them on right before last, I think it kind of forced Cody and Solo to step their game up because they really performed well. So
yeah.
I'm talking, of course, about Gunther and Damian Priest, but main event time, guys. It's the Bloodline Rules match, which was implicated on Friday Night SmackDown. You've got the new head of the table for the new Bloodline, or as I seen a sign in the audience that said the Temu Bloodline of Solo Sikoa, taking on the WWE champion, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. This was a battle, right? This was a battle. I hope they don't throw this Bloodline Rules thing around every time there's a major match with the Bloodline. Like, it worked at WrestleMania. And I felt at WrestleMania, before all the shenanigans started, they told a great story, and there was a great wrestling match before the Bloodline Rules kicked in and the run-in started. I didn't think that as much with this match last night. I felt like everybody was sitting on the edge of their seat waiting to hear a run-in and not really worried about what was going on with the match and the story that was being told before the run-in started. What do you guys think?
So I'm glad that you kind of paint that picture, but I think if we all sit back based on what SummerSlam has been and what we've been fed over the last couple weeks on SmackDowns and Raws and everything leading up to where we are right now, there's only one thing that everybody keeps saying, everybody keeps talking about, and everybody keeps chanting, and that is 5 letters, R-O-M-A-N, Roman, Roman, Roman. That is what's in our brain, and that's ultimately, just like the finish of a match, the only thing that's important. Mm-hmm. So when they said Bloodline Rules, I said, okay, we're going to have some fun with our main event because everyone's going to be sitting with bated breath. Not because how many crossroads is Cody going to hit? How many Samoan spikes? Where's Jacob Fatu coming from? Is Randy Orton coming out? Will he turn? What's going to happen? It's how much am I going to go through to constantly go, is this the moment? Is this the moment? Is this the moment? And we did. We sat through all of it. And we finally thought to ourselves, okay. And then what do we get? You get the flash of the lightning, you see the colors, you hear the music, and then out of nowhere, Michael Cole screams, he's here. And we see him. Roman freaking Reigns, looking like the presence, honestly, the electrifying superstar that he is and has become. And we are all finally given what we wanted. And I love, just like Hulk Hogan walking down at Bash at the Beach, we finally have someone say, but why is he here? Who's he here for? Mm-hmm. And before he even gets to the ring, you tell me both sides of the story. And now I can go, okay, I will actually think about this and see what happens. And then we get that big payoff, big Superman punch to Solo, big spear to Solo, and then the stare at Cody. And we all go, Okay, the goosebumps are here. The goosebumps are gone. Let's go on another ride, baby. Let's see what WWE is going to give us when it comes to Roman Reigns and what is the bloodline.
I can
agree with that.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so like the one thing going into this match, the one thing I kept thinking is how is Solo, he stepped up in a big game when he beat John Cena and he got put over John Cena in a dominant way, but all I've ever related to was the Enforcer. For me, this felt like a moment for Solo Sikoa to really shine in that main event picture. Like, when you look at the glimpse of that, like, outside of him saying he's the tribal chief, he does this, he does that, like, he's trying to convince himself that he is ready for this. And then here comes Cody Rhodes. Now you have to show it. Like, you have to bring your A game. Cody's going to bring his A game every time. That's why he's WWE champion. And yeah, like, I didn't know who to expect was coming out. After I saw Arn Anderson, he said he has friends, waiting to come help. Instantly, I was just thinking Roman was going to come out and just mow everybody down. But as soon as Kevin Owens came out and Randy Orton came out, it's like, okay, who's coming next? They really milked that time, took out the rest of the bloodline out of the match. Then you see Jacob Fatu come off top rope, put Cody right through that table, hit his leg, and you're like, oh man, maybe nobody's coming now. And then instantly that music hits, and I've always liked Roman Reigns, not just because of the backstory. It's very similar, like, his leukemia story, my lymphoma story. I always felt like I could, in a part, relate to Roman Reigns in a way. So seeing him back, it gave me goosebumps to hear that music hit right away. And it's like, but to JT Energy's credit, who was he here for? Is he here to get retribution on Cody, or is he here to take Solo Sikoa out? Like, it was that split decision. And when he took Solo out, dude, there's going to be a whole civil war between the bloodline once again, and I'm ready for it. Like, just, it adds many different questions. Like, I can't pinpoint where to go with this because Cody Rhodes, who does he go to next? Because now you're looking at Roman Reigns and he's ready to take out Solo and the rest of the bloodline. Is Jimmy and Jay coming back? There's so many questions to ask, and I'm ready for it.
So let's pretend for a minute that I can occasionally be a jaded wrestling fan. Let's just throw that out there. Friday night, I'm watching SmackDown. They announce Bloodline rules, and what goes through my head first is, oh, Solo can't beat Cody on his own, and they're just doing the Bloodline rules to bring Roman back. But the way that they went about doing it, I'm all in. I like to your point, JT, the fact that the commentary team brought out, well, whose side is he on? Deep down, I think most people knew which side, or had at least hoped which side he was going to be on. But you really didn't know. And that mystery, that build just through the end of that match was well done. I didn't care for the Bloodline rules concept going into SummerSlam being announced at the last minute, but I knew it had to happen. How else are you going to bring Roman back?
Well, and if you look at Roman Reigns' championship title victories over his historical reign, there's not a whole lot there that's not untainted itself. It's just we lived through what came about, which is the Bloodline rules, which through all its existence, it will always, so far in our heads, Bloodline rules, all that means is no DQ and a bunch of people are going to run out at the end. That's kind of what Bloodline rules is to us. And that term will always evolve until something is solidified in our brains, something specific like a ladder match or a Hell in a Cell or whatever it may be. But I think for now, Solo Sikoa is on his own main event trek. We're seeing him given the opportunities that he has earned, just like in 2018, Roman Reigns was put into the title picture. And a lot of people, when Roman was put there, they didn't believe it. They didn't like it. They didn't want it. And right now, Solo stepping right into that title picture, not alone, with a group by his side, not with his own name, taking Roman Reigns' tribal chief moniker, wearing it, doing what he can with it, being his own version of the bloodline with his own family there. And we will all, through this bloodline storyline, get a new evolution eventually that will come out of it on who is the bloodline, what is the bloodline, how does it split, who has what moniker, what name, all these different things that we'll eventually get answers to. And I really hope not anytime soon, because we will all look back and remember the bloodline storyline and how it affected us and the people that were involved with it through years and years of storytelling. And someday it's going to be great, and it's so far from over. And when we think back to Paul Heyman saying, we're in the third inning, ooh, baby, was he right? Was he right?
Absolutely. I'll forever remember, after Cody wins the match, the stare down, the moment that like Roman and Cody shared. Roman wants that title. It's no secret, but he's got bigger fish to fry right now. He's got his title to take back. He's got to avenge what they did to Paul Heyman. Him looking at Cody, kind of like subliminally telling Cody, hold that belt. I've got some stuff to take care of, but I'm coming for that title. That was cool to me. That was the goosebumps moment for me, was the moment that Roman and Cody had. Well done. I mean, it was awesome. It was cool. I hope Jacob Fatu's okay. There is talk that he's in a walking boot. Looked like he was legit hurt after that spot at ringside last night. The crap that guy can do is unbelievable. It's crazy.
Hey, baby.
I hope he's okay.
High risk is high risk.
It is.
The one part of that announce table is that as unforgiving as possible is that corner where they meet. And unfortunately, his kneecap really looked like it bounced right off it. So I don't care if you got a knee pad on or not. Your patella underneath is not excited to take that kind of impact.
Right.
Well, let's go around the room. Nick and I like to give letter grades on pay-per-views. I want to hear what everybody's final thoughts on SummerSlam were and where they would grade it on a letter grade scale. Jared, let's start with you.
Oh man. So the show was really good, but there was times where, I'm really big into audience play, and when the audience gets like simmered down at certain points and just like trying to focus, or they're just losing interest, it seemed like in some of the matches they were just, stadiums chit-chatting and everything, but from the most part, every match nailed it right into the coffin for me, I wouldn't give it quite an A, but I would definitely give it a B+ for being like that good show. Like, it just feels like there could have been a little bit more to it to make it an A for me, but it felt like a real B+ good like show to tell more stories, like, because there's just so much more to do with the upcoming stories in the future, but we will see where that goes, and I'll give it a B+.
Awesome. Let's make sure we clip that Jared Thumb, professional wrestler, weighs in on SummerSlam, not giving it an A, never to be signed by WWE. Thanks for your thoughts. Unfortunately, we are going to write you out of any stories for the future for giving that vulgar opinion you've just given us. Now, see, me, I'm going to be smart, and I'm going to give SummerSlam a P for perfect storytelling. And that is what I am going to hang my hat on, JT Energy style. But Jared, we're happy that you're here. Thanks for being that person.
I've posted it on socials, but that just felt like a meow meow boom moment right there. I'm just throwing it up.
Meow, boom.
CZ, what do you give it?
I'm kind of torn between an A- B+. I wish there was something a little in between there. But I thought it was a solid show. I enjoyed it. I don't think WWE has had a bad show in the last, I'd go as far as say at least 2 years, in my opinion. I think they've been on a roll, and it just continues to move on. What are your thoughts, Mr. Never Wrong?
I'm giving it an A. And I think you can argue that it is the best PLE of the year. I know night 2 of WrestleMania was special with Cody finishing the story, but I think top to bottom, this card delivered. It moved storylines along. There wasn't a lot of stepping back. It was full throttle forward. And I think you're going to look back at this pay-per-view like we spoke about earlier in the show, and how a pivotal pay-per-view it was, or PLE, and how people got the jump start here. Braun Breaker, Gunther, Nia Jax getting the big win. Roman's return is always going to be associated with this. The start of the Rollins, Punk, Drew McIntyre fiasco, if you want to call it. And you've also got the end of the Judgment Day. So I think all that stuff happening, I give it an A. I think it's the best show of the year that WWE's put out. And I mean, you can argue with night 2 of WrestleMania. People are going to say that. But as of right now, I give it an A.
I'll even add to that, our podcast tribal chief, DJ Jarvis, chiming in on the comments, saying it was the most WrestleMania-like non-WrestleMania PLE in a long time. I can't disagree with that. I can't find fault with that, DJ.
I know what he's trying to. Yeah, absolutely. I think this one will stand up over the test of time. I think this is one people will go back and I want to watch a good show, and this is the show they're going to put on.
Absolutely.
I agree.
What a stunning podcast we have put together here today with Jared Thumb, the Feline Phenom JT Energy, Never Wrong Nick Bull, and the Wizard CZ.
We found a way. And nobody got hurt but Jared's feelings.
Jared, do you have any closing thoughts on today's podcast? We would really like can you come up with your own like promo segment here real quick? Come up with a little quick name and then give us something to go home with.
Oh boy. Well, I had a thought earlier. I'm going to call it a moment, a thumb. And maybe I'm going to steal a little thing called, you said patience, right? Patience is a real careful word you use when you're in a wilderness hunting that game, whether it be deer, bear, or elk, anything for that matter. Which leads to, when is Jared Thumb going to take that shot for that CEW title? And well, I was going to say it when you said patience in your moment of focus, but the moment of thumb says patience will lead to the right moment, and I will be that Central Empire Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. So thanks for the inspiration there.
I hate that I've ever given you a platform to talk on. We are now all dumber for listening to a moment of thumb by Jay. After all that, being a professional wrestler, being able to cut a promo, having little things like, instead of somebody, you say thumb buddy, or something really cute and awesome, like, and we get a moment of thumb. Unbelievable,
I knew
Jared.
you were going to start roasting me at some point,
Absolutely unbelievable. So someday your child is going to look back on this and go, oh my God, my dad cut that promo. He shut the lights off, pulled the bed away from the wall, and he slept on the floor. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Oh,
I mean, if you want me to cut a promo real quick, you know, our rivalry isn't exactly done. So, JT Energy, if you want to step in a ring together once again, one more time, I faced you probably the most out of any opponent in my career. Who's to say I can't beat you? Because I've done it before and I can do it again.
And I, you know what? I can't wait for that. I can't wait for you to potentially give me a black eye and end my career being the professional wrestler that you are. Yeah, you know what? I can't with you sometimes. I really can't with you. Card Subject to Change fans, if you're tuned in, I'm sorry. This is for frequency's sake. They might take us off. I don't know if we should ever invite this guy back. I mean, if you look at this, if you look at the screen here, if you're watching the video version of this, Jared, he doesn't even want you to follow him on social media. He didn't even put his handle on here. He's so ashamed of being just who he is in general. We're all trying to get this show on the road and get people to watch Card Subject to Change, follow us, get us to big follower numbers like we really want to here. And Jared's just along for the ride, having a fun time, moment of thumb, talking about shooting bears in the face online. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Jared.
DJ has just officially canceled us. Card Subject to canceled.
Jared, what do you have to say to DJ Jarvis?
Well, I don't even know. You're just gonna keep on going on and on and
Jared,
on.
hold on. Let me get us uncanceled. Guys, never forget that we're powered by Low Pies Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook Country Financial. The Card Subject to Change podcast by the fans, for the fans, always bringing you the greatest in professional wrestling content, whether it be local or worldwide. Never Wrong Nick Bull and the Wizard CZ tonight with the Feline Phenom JT Energy and Jared Thumb, your number one title shot contender for the CEW Championship, are always here to give you the best by giving you everything that's deep inside of our hearts, whether they're black like mine or camouflage like Jared's. We're here to deliver the best. And just like SummerSlam, we heat it up tonight and we're taking it downtown and we're bringing it all the way back. We're not slamming beers, but Jared is, but we're here to have a good time. And tonight you had a good time with us. So for the Feline Phenom and the rest of my Judgment Day gang, I hope you had a good time tonight because we delivered.
All rise.